If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The NFL world is buzzing and the Houston Texans are right at the center of it all. And in a move that's got fans talking and analysts dissecting every angle, the Texans have officially signed Nick Chubb to a one-year deal. That's right, the bruising Pro Bowl caliber running back who defined Cleveland's ground game for years is now suiting up in Houston blue. For a team that's been on a steady rise and looking to solidify its place among playoff contenders, this is no minor adjustment. It's a statement. After 7 gritty, productive seasons in Cleveland, Chubb arrives in H-Town with something to prove and a whole lot of football left in the tank. The Texans, already a fascinating team with young, star C.J. Stroud under center, are doubling down on their vision for the future. And now, with Chubb in the backfield, that future looks a lot more powerful and a lot more dangerous. Let's be real, Nick Chubb isn't just any running back. He's a game changer, a punishing presence between the tackles with the kind of vision and burst that can demoralize defenses. We've seen it time and time again. But after a tough stretch battling injuries, the football world began to wonder, could Chubb return to elite form? The Texans clearly believe so, and they're not the only ones. There's a quiet confidence in the air down in Houston, and that's not just because of the new addition. It's the context. This is a team on the cusp. With Stroud maturing rapidly, Joe Mixon adding depth, and now Chubb bringing proven firepower, the Texans' offense might just be entering a whole new dimension. The move speaks volumes about where this franchise believes it can go and how quickly they plan to get there. You can't talk about this signing without acknowledging the emotional weight of Chubb's departure from Cleveland. For years, he was the heartbeat of that offense, the one constant through coaching changes, quarterback experiments, and playoff droughts. Browns fans adored him, not just for the yards or the touchdowns, but for how he carried himself. Humble, relentless, and all business. So yes, seeing Chubb in a Texans uniform is jarring, but that's the NFL. It's a league of chapters, of reinventions, and this next chapter could be the most compelling yet. In Houston, Chubb has the opportunity to be more than just a workhorse. He can be a leader, a mentor, and the engine of a rising team. And you better believe he's heard the whispers, the doubts, the skepticism. That's fuel. That's motivation. That's Nick Chubb with a chip on his shoulder. And that should terrify every defensive coordinator in the league. One of the most exciting aspects of this move is how perfectly Chubb fits into what Houston is building offensively. With Bobby Slowik calling plays and C.J. Stroud evolving into one of the smartest young quarterbacks in the league, this team doesn't just need talent, they need experience. They need poise, and that's exactly what Chubb brings. Imagine the possibilities in the red zone. Play action with Chubb behind Stroud? Defensive nightmares. And let's not forget Joe Mixon. This isn't a one-man show. It's a thunder and thunder combo. Both backs capable of taking over games. This gives the Texans versatility, depth, and most importantly, options. No longer will the pressure fall entirely on Stroud to make something happen. With Chubb behind him, the offense becomes more unpredictable. And in the NFL, unpredictability is power. It's how you win in December. It's how you shock people in January. Images of Chubb at Houston's minicamp have already made the rounds online, and the reactions have been electric. Fans are hyped. Former players are nodding in approval. And within the locker room, there's a buzz. Teammates know what he brings. They've seen the tape. They've felt the hits. And now he's on their side. And it's not just about on-field production. Chubb is the kind of veteran presence every young team needs. He's been through the grind. He knows what it takes to play deep into the season. And for a franchise still carving out its identity in the post-Watson era, that presence can be transformational. He won't be the loudest voice. He never has been. But when you line up next to a guy like Nick Chubb, you raise your game. That's just what happens. And in a young locker room hungry for success, that could be the secret weapon no one's talking about. From a strategic standpoint, this signing could be a masterstroke. Chubb isn't just a bruiser. He's a smart, instinctual runner who reads blocks and makes subtle cuts that keep drives alive. He's a closer. Think about late game situations. When defenses are gassed and games hang in the balance, that's where Chubb thrives. That's where the Texans have struggled in the past. Too many close games slipping away. Too many missed opportunities. Chubb can change that. He doesn't need 30 carries to make an impact. He can do it in 10. He can do it in 1. And in a league defined by moments, sometimes that's all you need. A breakaway run, a 3rd and short conversion, a tone-setting drive. The Texans brought him in for those moments, because those moments, when added up, become wins. And wins become playoff bursts. And playoff bursts become belief. But let's zoom out for a second and look at what this really means for the AFC South. With the Titans retooling, the Colts rebuilding, and the Jaguars trying to stay relevant, the division is wide open. And Houston? They're not just trying to win it. They're trying to own it. Adding Nick Chubb sends a message to every team in the division. We're not waiting anymore. We're coming for it now. This isn't a move you make unless you believe your window is open. And judging by the way this roster is shaping up, that belief isn't misplaced. From top to bottom, the Texans are quietly assembling one of the most balanced and intriguing rosters in the conference. Chubb's arrival might just be the final piece that turns potential into performance. And if they stay healthy, don't be surprised if they're playing meaningful football well into January. Analysts across the league have already started revising their projections. Some are calling Houston a top 5 offense on paper. Others are predicting a Pro Bowl resurgence for Chubb. But beyond the stats and predictions, there's a more intangible storyline unfolding. This is about culture, about building something sustainable. When you bring in a guy like Chubb, you're not just chasing highlights, you're investing in character, in consistency, in championship habits. The Texans are growing up fast. And this signing is a reflection of that maturity. They're not throwing money at a name. They're making calculated moves designed to create synergy, not just sizzle. And that's what makes this so compelling. It's not just smart, it's savvy. It's a team that finally understands who it is and what it needs. And now it has one of the most reliable backs in football leading the charge. Nick Chubb's transition to Houston marks more than just a change of scenery. It marks the beginning of a redemption arc. For a player who's never sought the spotlight, he now finds himself in the center of one. But he's ready. He's built for this. The knee injuries may have slowed him down temporarily, but they didn't define him. What defines Chubb is his work ethic, his resilience, his ability to bounce back stronger. And now, with a new team, a new city, and a new mission, he has everything to gain and nothing to lose. The Texans are betting on his comeback, and history has shown that betting on Nick Chubb is usually a safe move. If he stays healthy, if he finds his rhythm, this could go down as one of the most impactful offseason signings of the year. And if that happens, well, the NFL better be ready, because Houston is coming. So as the countdown to kickoff begins, all eyes turn to Houston. The city's been waiting for a reason to believe again. And maybe, just maybe, Nick Chubb is that reason. He brings credibility. He brings toughness. He brings hope. And in a league where momentum can shift overnight, that's exactly what the Texans need. From the front office to the fan base, there's a new energy in the air. And while it's still early, there's no denying it. The Texans are in the conversation now. Not just as a fun young team, but as a serious contender. The story of this NFL season is still unwritten. But don't be surprised if a big part of it is told from Houston. And don't be surprised if Nick Chubb is the one holding the pen. Buckle up, Texans fans. This ride could be something special. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. SHEDEUR Sanders, the rising star quarterback out of Colorado, is already one of the most talked about names in college football. But recently, he's been making waves off the field, and not just for his flashy style or famous father, Deion Sanders. Rumors are swirling about an unexpected connection between SHEDEUR and the NFL's Cleveland Browns, and what's coming out is something absolutely no one saw coming. In a candid off-the-cuff moment during a recent podcast appearance, SHEDEUR hinted at a deep, almost secretive bond with a specific NFL franchise. And a name that keeps surfacing? The Browns. That's right. The team that's long been considered a project, a rebuild, and sometimes even a punchline may actually be the center of a future QB fairy tale involving one of the biggest names in the game's next generation. And it's not just about football. It's personal, very personal. According to multiple whispers from behind-the-scenes sources and some cryptic clues SHEDEUR has been dropping, there's more to this Browns buzz than just speculation. During a casual Instagram live earlier this week, SHEDEUR was asked jokingly which NFL team he'd never play for. And instead of throwing out a name, he smirked and said, "There's one team I'd definitely play for, and they know who. They are." Then he added, "It's all about family. It's all about loyalty." That comment alone sent fans into a frenzy, with internet sleuths digging into every frame of the video, analyzing the tone, the timing, and even the shirt he was wearing. And guess what? It was brown and orange. Coincidence? Maybe. But when it comes to the Sanders family, there's rarely anything accidental. But here's where things get even more intriguing. The Browns, often portrayed as the underdogs of the NFL, have been making quiet moves that suggest they're preparing for a significant change in the quarterback room. While Deshaun Watson is still under contract, there have been rumblings of unrest and contingency planning, and when you connect that to SHEDEUR's growing stardom, a narrative begins to emerge, not of a typical draft prospect, but of a long-term vision. People close to the Sanders family say that SHEDEUR has always talked about building something with the people who matter, and that he's had his eye on the Browns for reasons that go beyond stats and playbooks. This isn't about a contract. This is about connections, and SHEDEUR's got them deep inside Cleveland's walls. It turns out SHEDEUR isn't just friendly with a few Browns players, he's practically family. Multiple sources say that he spent off-seasons training with a few key members of the Browns offense, including some who've played with him in elite 7-on-7 camps back in high school. One former coach even revealed that there's a brotherhood vibe between SHEDEUR and a core group of Browns wide receivers. And guess who was spotted hanging out at a private Sanders family gathering last month? A Browns assistant coach. When you add it all up, it starts to look less like coincidence and more like a carefully laid foundation. SHEDEUR doesn't want to just go to the NFL. He wants to go where he feels at home. And that home might just be in Cleveland. Some NFL insiders are calling this the quiet storm of the 2025 draft cycle. Everyone's watching the top quarterbacks. But SHEDEUR? He might already have a destination in mind. And here's the kicker. Multiple anonymous scouts have said that the Browns have been sending extra personnel to Colorado games. Even games where SHEDEUR wasn't expected to shine. That level of attention? That's not standard. That's targeted. That's the kind of scouting that says, we're building something big and we want you at the center of it. Imagine a Browns offense tailored around SHEDEUR's dual threat. Talent. Built with guys he already trusts, with coaches who've been in his corner since before the national spotlight hit. It's not just a move, it's a mission. And if we zoom out a bit, there's a cultural shift happening in Cleveland, a shift toward a younger, flashier, more media-savvy identity. Who better to lead that than SHEDEUR Sanders? He's already a brand, a media presence, and a locker room leader. Pair that with a franchise desperately looking to rebrand itself in the eyes of the league, and the pieces start falling into place. This isn't just a player meets team situation. This is potentially a movement. And let's not forget Dayon. Primetime himself has always emphasized family, legacy, and purpose over hype. And if Dayon has any say in where SHEDEUR lands, and you better believe he does, the Browns might already be penciled in on the Sanders family vision board. There are even whispers that NIL money and endorsement partnerships could be quietly transitioning with SHEDEUR toward relationships. Based in the Cleveland market, local insiders claim that a major Ohio brand recently entered preliminary talks with SHEDEUR's representatives, allegedly preparing for a major sports branding campaign set to launch post-draft. Could this be an early signal that the Sanders camp is preparing to plant roots in Northeast Ohio? When you combine brand alignment with personal relationships and football fit, the puzzle starts to assemble itself. And while nothing's been signed, the energy is real. You can feel it building. Of course, no rumor this big escapes the doubters. Some analysts say this is just smoke, a way for the Sanders camp to increase leverage and create headlines. But honestly, that doesn't check out. SHEDEUR doesn't need leverage. He's already one of the most talked about names in football. If anything, this feels too quiet, like something being carefully orchestrated behind the scenes. And that silence, that's the kind that comes before a storm. Not the loud, flashy hype train, The calm, confident assurance of someone who knows exactly where he's going and why. And all roads right now seem to lead to Cleveland. What would this mean for the Browns franchise? Potentially everything. Imagine a team that's been searching for identity, for consistency, for hope, finally landing a quarterback not just with talent but with vision. Someone who's walking in with more than a playbook. He's coming in with a plan. The connection between SHEDEUR and the Browns isn't just about football. It's about brotherhood, business, and building something different. A team of friends, a team of family. Something authentic in an era of corporate transactions. If SHEDEUR really is headed to Cleveland, the Browns won't just be getting a QB. They'll be getting a leader, a unifier, and possibly the face of a new NFL era. So is it happening? Is SHEDEUR Sanders really on a quiet path toward the Dawg Pound? Nothing is official, and until his name is called on draft night, this remains in the realm of speculation. But all signs, from social media crumbs to private connections to behind-the-scenes chatter, point toward a future where SHEDEUR wears orange and brown, not just by coincidence, but by choice. In a league that rarely sees fairy tales come true, this one feels possible, maybe even probable. Because when it comes to SHEDEUR Sanders and the Cleveland Browns, it's not just football, it's family. And that more than anything might be the secret no one was expecting. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!